Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and welcome to tonight's live chat. It is 7 p.m. Central Time, and we've got a lot of bee stuff to cover. A lot of variables going on around the country and around the world. A lot of exciting things. Always exciting when it's bee related stuff. So I've got some cool things to share with you, and I am looking forward to hearing what you have to share with me and questions you have. One thing that you all can do in the future to help me in this live chat is if you have a question, put my name Cayman in caps prior to your question. And if you're wanting to just do regular chat with other folks in the sidebar, then just go right ahead and do that without that Cayman on it. That'd be great. Hey, Todd, good to see so many of you guys piling in. It is hot right now. It's my least favorite time of the year to keep bees. I really don't like July and August as a beekeeper, least two favorite months. But if I do really good in July and August, usually my bees do really good throughout the rest of the year. All right. Hey, good to see you, Alan. And so many people starting to pile on. And 72 count mite bomb discovered this morning. Todd Prater says, yikes, time to drop a bomb in that hive. 102 degrees in California. Ooh, yeah. Hey, Hell Hives. Actually, I was going to talk about you guys here in a little bit. I wanted to say thanks for the 2 jars of honey that you sent us. I haven't dug into the 1 pound bottle yet, but this half pounder, I'm about a third of the way into it so far. And the kids, of course, my kids, whenever we get honey from somebody, they want to try it too. But thanks for that very much. People are piling in from all over the place: Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, California, all over the place. Australia. All right. So we got them from all over the place. I was really excited that earlier this week we picked up an Australian company that's coming to the Hive Life conference. And that's really exciting to me that we have a good bit of international bit of beekeeping going on with the Hive Life conference this year. Hey, one of the things that I want to say early on as well is for those of you who have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. That helps out a lot. And one of the things that you'll be able to do that's upcoming when we hit 50,000 subscribers, which is probably going to be sometime in late August, early September, we're going to do a giveaway extravaganza. It's going to be massive. There's going to be several companies involved, lots of giveaways. So there's a pretty good chance of not getting, something like a hive tool, but, maybe a chance of getting $100 voucher from a popular company, maybe getting a vaporizer, or maybe getting excuse me, or that, maybe a discount on an Apame hive, whatever. We're going to have a lot of stuff. So just be on the lookout for when that hits here in about a month and a half. And that will be quite a bit of fun. All right. Getting some questions. Wayne Watson pulled another 100 supers today, about melted down. Yeah, you got to be careful. That's heavy work and hot work right there, Wayne. But congratulations on all those honey supers. That is great. Jason Sneeden came in. When do I add the top ventilation? When do I need to prepare for winter bees? Washington. Okay. PNW. So I don't know exactly the timing on your area, but whenever your fall flow hits, that's the jump right there. When that nutrition comes in, what we see with our probably longer dearth than yours, I would say, is our dearth starts at the first to second week of June. And then there's just a natural drop in brood production as they're trying to conserve what they have in relation to what they have stored and what's coming in. So it's a natural decline from about 50, 60,000 bees on down. And we feed them. We try to eliminate the mites. If we need to requeen them, keep that colony going as forward as possible. So when they do hit that fall flow, hopefully it's there, that little bit of a bump up in nutrition, it's going to set you up for a lot of nurse bees. And the better your bees are condition wise going into that fall flow, the better. If you've got 40,000 bees, well, they're going to have more resources and capabilities of producing more winter bees than a 15,000 colony or 20,000. population hive, plus a little bit of supplemental feeding. Heck, I'm a little known to do a little bit of pollen patty feeding, even during the fall flow. It can be when I don't go out of my way a lot, but if I'm already going in there like every other week, throw in half a pound, just beef them up a little bit more. Keep those mites low. My fall preparation starts right now, but I definitely need those bees to be in prime shape when the goldenrod and all that stuff hits. But yeah, that's what we're working for. Okay, I think this just dropped way down. I missed a question. Cayman, can you show the mixture for mixing Pro Sweet 1 to 1 and 2 to 1? Let me see if I can pull that up really quick on my computer here. Yeah, here we go. No, that's that's the wrong PDF. Doggone it, it was just there. Uh, See, this is why I always have Laurel around. This will get it. I know this will get it. Yeah. Dilution rates. I will post this in just on Facebook and a few other places as well. Try to get it to where it's shareable. So right now, if you're wanting to make 1 to 1 and you're wanting, this is small quantities, so you'll have to upscale this. This is the water side. You'll want 1 quart of water plus 3 more cups of water. So 1 quart and 3 cups of water to 2 quarts plus 1 cup of Pro Sweet or similar type syrup. And that's 1 to 1. Now, 2 to 1 is 3 cups of water to 3 quarts and a cup of syrup. So 3 cups of water, 3 quarts, and 1 cup of syrup. Now, if you're wanting like a bigger ratio, like this one's pretty easy. So 1 to 1, making 24 gallons at a time is 10 gallons of water, 14 gallons of syrup. And of course, it was in that video I just released, and you can go and you can pause that and you can see the same things on that as well. Cayman, how much does one of those totes of syrup weigh? So there was 3 on the trailer. I think you probably only saw 2 of them. The 2 that were in the video are 275 as far as gallons go. Where the heck is my calculator on this thing? I mean, technology, I really think just has it out for me. I can use it except when I need it. All right, so it's about 11.7 pounds to a gallon times 275. So one of those totes weighs about 3,200 pounds. So quite a bit of weight, very heavy stuff. And you'll definitely want to strap it down very good. And I like to have like some type of mat or fabric underneath it. If I have a slick bed, I want to have something down there that really gets me a lot of traction and does not want to scoot or slide. Okay. Lots of questions. I'll get to them in just 1 second. I'm a little bit behind. Cayman, when do I add the ventilation? I forgot to get to that, Jason. So as far as the ventilation goes, you can do that whenever you feel like it. Honestly, there's people that ventilate in the summer months. There's people who ventilate in the winter months, have a top entrance. Personally, I'm not as big into the ventilation on the winter side, and I usually rarely take the time in summer to ventilate either. The bees are able to deal with it, and I really need to get better about that. But right now, I haven't done anything, and I won't do anything for winter either. But you guys live in a different area. I would prefer personally to insulate more. And I think that would kind of eliminate a lot of the upper entrance needs. But some people in snowy areas will put it there just so if they get a bunch of snow, they have that upper entrance to ventilate. So big differences between Tennessee and Washington and other northern states. Here's that question I was trying to find. Middle Tennessee, new beekeeper. What's your feeding plan for the next 6 weeks? Also, are we looking for a nectar flow anytime soon? So no, we are not, unfortunately. If we get a nectar flow, it'll start sometime in September, and we won't have typically anything in Tennessee till then. There's a few spots that you will get one, but most of Tennessee is in full on dearth right now. Robbing season, fun, fun, fun. Next 6 weeks, what am I doing? So tomorrow's video will show you exactly what I'm doing to almost every single colony that's of decent size, but I'm doing it every other week. So 3 times over the next 6 weeks, I'll be doing what's in tomorrow's video, and that's getting in there. Is there a good laying queen? What's the food stores? Likely feed them thin syrup anyways, just to keep them going forward, keep them stimulated, and mite control. That's the only thing I didn't do in tomorrow's videos. I didn't do any treatments, but I will be doing that in videos in the future. So I fed 2 gallons of peas to the colonies in the video that I filmed for tomorrow morning. And it's a lot of feed, but it works really good. Bees appreciate that syrup coming in. And I appreciate big bees going into the fall flow. Just got to get those mites low. It's all about mites feeding and queen evaluation, basically, right now, and keeping weak colonies protected from beetles and other hives and all that kind of stuff. Francis says, Cam, I would send some of the New York honey, but I'm afraid you would dislike your own stuff after the first taste. You thought I was joking about the giveaway? No, no, Francis. We're going to have a crazy giveaway when we hit 50,000 subscribers, and there's going to be all kinds of opportunities, not like 1 or 2 items, lots of cool things. So just stay alert on that. One thing I want to say real quick is we have had several kids enter the kid program, but there still is a little bit more room. So if you know of a kid between the age of 12 and 21 that is really into beekeeping, we're really looking for active young men and women who are who are already taking the initiative to beekeep on their own. You can go to the hivelifeconference.com, which is our website, and the kid program is very easy for them to fill out. The only thing we really ask is a short YouTube video talking a little bit about what they do and what they'd like to do in the future, just so we can kind of hear from them that this is something that they like to do and that kind of stuff. And then we'll evaluate that and have at least 26 full rides to the conference. I'd say maybe closer to 30 by the time the conference gets here. Another thing, if you guys know anybody that does this, this is something I would like to have this year. It's kind of odd, but does anybody know of a label company? And what I mean by that, so like a company could come to the conference and set up a table, have an individual that designs labels for people, has the technical skills and the software, whatever, to be able to like come to a conference and spend the 2 days. I would love to do this myself and design a label, or at least show people what they have done in the past, and then be able to customize that maybe at the conference for them. And it could be good for their label company business. And it also would be good for beekeepers to have a source where we could get some nicer, more custom labels from someone who's really good at that. Cause I need that and I don't have the time to do it. I'm sure Laurel could figure it out if she had the time, but she's busy all the time. So Bradford Simmons says, I love the new instant VAP. That video is done crazy. I usually on a product review type video where we test out a product or talk about one, they do okay. That video has gotten so many views where it's almost a 30,000 already on a vaporizer video. So that's really surprised me quite a bit. Spider-Man says hello from Scotland. All right. Now, since we already talked about the instant VAP, I thought I'd go ahead and show that right here. And if anyone has any questions on it, now's a good time. I'm going to leave a link that I just dropped down to the website where you can get them. I really like that it's stainless steel, and I misspoke. There's actually a little bit of communication um, barrier because in Hungary, copper is used a little bit differently than here. This is actually a brass barrel, or nozzle or whatever you want to call it, but it is quite thick, and you can see how it unscrews here in the back. You can all this plate and everything's removable, and you can just screw that on out and put a new one in. I don't know how you would mess that up though. And I absolutely love this mechanism right here where I can just go right into it, and it's pretty cool. I love new bee tools that aren't snake oil. And as far as, oh, this was a big question. A lot of people asked me about it. They do come in with Milwaukee batteries. If you can get a setting for that, and there are adapters I know out there. I don't know a lot about that kind of stuff, but people are like, well, it's 20 volt on the website. It says 18-volt, but you're using a 20-volt battery. How does that work? Well, one of the things DeWalt and a lot of these companies have done is kind of make it look more impressive than what it really is. The batteries are bigger and better than they used to be, but there's, I mean, 18-volt, 20-volt. I mean, it's really, the 20-volt thing is just a marketing dealio. It's kind of like this battery right here. It says 20-volt slash 60-volt. It works for this vaporizer because it's really just 20 volts. I don't know where they get off on the whole 60-volt thing. Maybe some of their units draw more out of it, but it absolutely works great for this vaporizer. And I can get about 80 treatments with this battery here. So that's pretty nice. But literally, it all these batteries work. As long as it's these type of batteries that slide in like this, it works just fine. Okie doke. Someone said Canadian Beekeepers blog. Did he stumble his way down here? Nectar flowing in southern Manitoba. Good deal. I hope it's a good one for you, Ian. You definitely got enough water in the ground this year to be able to get some nectar going. I hope that that everything's working out for you now, and maybe got a little bit easier, a little downhill slide, hopefully, for a change. Kamon, have you ever had to euthanize a mean hive? Uh, Not really. I've had to requeen and euthanize a bad queen before. If a colony is like real aggressive and I can't requeen it, then I'll just shake the bees out and I'll be done with them. But I've actually never like euthanized a hive. I don't live in Africanized territory. If I was in an area with Africanized bees, that would totally be something I'd be willing to do. And some people get really aggressive about, oh my goodness, you're killing honeybees, and this is the end of the world that you killed bees. Don't you know they're all fixing to disappear? I'm not one of those type of people. I love bees. I love people more than I like bees, and I definitely like my family more. If there was bees in the brick side of my house and there's no way to get them out but busting through the brick and doing all kinds of construction work, I'm not doing that to my house over some bees. I'm sorry. I'm not. I know better than honeybees are fixing to go extinct. That's just more fake news stuff that the media likes to put out there to get more clicks. The honeybees aren't going anywhere. They just have more stressors than they've had in the past. What's my favorite part of beekeeping? Raising queens and making new splits. But it's hard because there's a lot of things I love about beekeeping. I love the carpentry side of building equipment. I love raising queens. Heck, I even kind of like studying about some of the pests and how to crush their souls. There's a lot of things I like. And I love good bee tools. Fun. It's fun to use tools that are built really well and really well thought out. So that's always fun. And to me, something like this, I think, means a little bit more because it saves me time and it saves me so much money. I hate treating with oxalic acid just because it's so labor intensive. So anything that makes that better is taking lots of stress off of Laurel and I in December when we treat with it. Well, hey, Access Through Christ. Well, I hope that your daughter does decide to get into it, and thanks for watching our videos. I appreciate that. Kama, what's your thoughts about putting a 5-gallon bucket of crystallized honey outside in the sun? Uh, you know, I honestly, I have no clue exactly. I guess it depends on your opinions on the enzymes and damage to that. Of course, it might not even get hot enough where you're at to get past the temperature that would damage the enzymes. And it may, I mean, it just really depends on what you want to do. I really don't know. Personally, if it could be avoided, I would do it. But if that's what it took, then I would do that too. And honestly, I'm not going to demonize somebody that chooses to heat their honey up a little bit hotter than what is the safest thing. Because I personally don't define honey as being that bad if the enzymes are missing, because there's so much other stuff in honey that is not nuked in the process of warming it up a little bit past like 105 or whatever it is. So there's a balance to it all. And honestly, right now, most of the honey that's sold in the U.S. is not even honey. So it's really up to you, Alan. I think it would work though if it got hot enough, especially if it was in a black bucket. That would work. Perhaps a bathtub full of hot water, and you just have to kind of replenish that. But I don't know. Thinking out loud here. Cayman, what's the ratio of genetics of brood if you put Carney eggs in a walkaway split of Italians after the queen mates an Italian feral bee yard? I have no clue. As far as that goes, there's so many variables. There's no such thing as purebred Carneys, no such thing as purebred Italians in this country. There's what do you have in trees near you? What do your neighbors that might have bees have? It could be so many different things. I would say if you have mostly Italian drones in the area and you're only putting in, Carney brood, then, it's going to be 60-40, 50-50, 30-70. I don't know. It's already complicated enough. I have no clue. That's a hard question, but I do appreciate you asking it though. Cayman, where do you get one of those totes of Pro Sweet? So I got those from Clarkson up at Man Lake. So that's one of the few things that I buy from Man Lake these days is the Pro Suite. hmm Cayman, have you been following Randy Oliver's slow release oxalic acid test? Looks super promising to me. I wish it would get official approval. Well, Andrew, I'm in communication with Randy Oliver right now. It's not like we're buddy buddy, but I've been following him for many years, and I've talked to him a little bit, and thankfully I got to meet him in Evansville a couple of weeks ago, and that was quite a bit of fun. Talk to him about it a little bit more, and we're going to be trying those out here shortly. So the colonies in tomorrow's video are actually, you'll see on top of the lids, they're numbered. They got a piece of duct tape or Gorilla Tape, and they're numbered, and those are for this year's experimental yard. And the bees are looking good. The mite loads haven't been high enough. Richard Brickner has all of the data from what we've pulled so far from the test yard this year. And he will be, once we start dropping the treatments, we'll need to do one more round of alcohol washes and counting everything. And then we'll be dropping treatments. But one of those groups will be Randy Oliver's recipe for the oxalic acid extended release. And I'm really hopeful that it'll work pretty good for us. That would be amazing. Do you think it's better to treat with oxalic acid in the morning or the evening when most of the bees are still in the hive, or does it really matter? I'm sure it does matter to a degree. The more bees that are in there, I mean, if there's 10,000 bees out in the middle of the day doing different things and you're missing those 10,000, I mean, there could be 50 mites hitching on a ride on those 10,000 bees. It could be 100. We don't know. So obviously, I think the more that are home, the better. But it's the majority of them are going to be in the hive where they can reproduce and get access to the most healthy fatty bees, which are not the forager bees, the ones in the hive. So treat, get them down, keep those mites low. That's the main thing. So if work schedule or whatever keeps you from being able to do it in the morning or the evening, still do it anyways. It's just best to do it. But I like early mornings. It's cooler. Late in the evenings, it's still pretty hot and humid, but it'll all work. I've done it all. Is there a video of yours on sugar bricks? Yes, I do have one on sugar bricks. It's really easy. If I remember, it is half a cup of water to 10 pounds of sugar. And we just take a drill and a paint spinner and we just mix that together. And then you can just pack that into a form and it will dry out. I've stuck it next to my wood stove. You can put it in a stove and it'll brick up very quickly. Cayman, thanks a lot for getting my wife on the kombucha kick. Now she's making me drink that stuff. Thanks, not. Sorry, Alan. Hey, it's good and good for you. And if it's got honey in it, then it's actually June. So, kombucha is really good for your gut, though. And I have dealt with a lot of gut issues in the past. A lot of times when you stress out and overwork, you start getting to where you don't digest your food properly, which affects literally everything. And so taking things like that has helped me out over the years. But yeah, it's not always the best tasting stuff. It can be okay if it's doctored up correctly, but it's still pretty tricky, and still it's not a Coca Cola. Hey, Tar Heel Beekeeper, thanks for coming on again, and thanks for the kind words. Appreciate you. So Shane Williams says, Cayman, have you ever had? Oh nope, I already answered that one. Ron, that's what I was getting to. What do you do when you find a case of a European foulbrood? We kill the queen, get rid of her, requeen the hive, and feed the colony. So European foulbrood predominantly is spread through feeding. So when a nurse bee goes to a larvae and feeds it, it does not affect or already grown adult bees, but they can still spread it and feed it to the larvae. And then it builds up and accumulates in their gut and kills them. There's more to it than that, but that's the basics. And so how we need to deal with this is a couple ways. First of all, I find if we have just a little bit showing up, one or two, three, 15, and then it clears up, it's not a big deal. But if it's a case that's lasted for multiple weeks, then yeah, queen's got to go. We're going to feed sugar syrup and try to flush out all what's in the food system of the colony. And by requeening and by feeding, we are going to create a brood break, and hopefully all of the old food that's in the bees guts is going to dilute that down enough to where the bees can fix it. We want a new queen with hopefully better genetics. That's the way I deal with it. It's always a genetic thing. We totally eliminate it and requeen, and I think it's a combination of just flushing out the garbage of the EFB in their system and the requeen and that brood break, and that works very well for us. However, sometimes if you have high mite loads and the viruses are starting to affect the colony, you will get some ugly looking brood that looks like EFB, even though it's not. So just not saying that it is that, but I have seen that before. Okay. Feeding in the dearth, 1 to 1. 1 to 1 works pretty good. It's the go-to for everybody this time of the year, David. However, I have fed 2 to 1 this time of the year on colonies that really needed to add a lot of weight quickly. 1.5 to 1. If I feel like I want to stimulate them but not add a lot of weight, I've dropped it down as little as 0.5 pounds of sugar, so half a pound of sugar to 1 pound of water. So you can do a lot of different things there. Just make sure that whether it's 1 to 1 or anything, that the bees have plenty of food during the dearth. You don't really have to worry. I don't have to worry about swarming right now. There's no way. I'm not even sure I can make the hive swarm unless I just. I still don't know if they would swarm if I plugged them out right now. There's just not enough pollen. There's not enough brood rearing going on. It would be difficult. So make sure they have plenty of food. Yeah, the temps have been pretty bad for everything, Apiguard, all kinds of stuff. Wow. Lots of questions. This is awesome. What's the anticipated release date of vendors for Hive Life Conference 23? So we have just been this week actually finalizing all the information so vendors can sign up. So we have everything lined up, the booth space, everything's already organized and planned. So we can already start. So some of these vendors want to be next to each other, are very close, and we also need to manage it to where we don't have, you know, Larabi Vaporizer right next to ProVap, because I don't think they'd like that very much. So there has to be a lot of thought that goes into a lot of this stuff. But as far as when we'll announce it, we'll start announcing them as they sign up. So if you guys are on Facebook, follow the Hive Life Conference on there. Super interactive, and a lot of people posting lots of different things about either the conference or what they're bringing. Vendors will also post their deals there. So I imagine we'll have everybody who's going to sign up by the end of September at the latest. Let's see, August. Yeah, at the latest. This year's a little bit different. So I don't know how it's going to work out. I will say this: we will be turning vendors away this year. I have over 2 acres of space to put the vendors, and I'm pretty sure we will be turning away vendors this year. I would bet money on it, because we already have so many that are waiting for us to open the floodgates. And I think between that, the honey show, my booth, the coffee, all that kind of stuff, the silent auction, that's going to probably fill up 90% of the room. So, but the good news is we have awesome vendors from top bar hives, horizontal hives. We have like big companies like JZBZ. We have multiple insulative hives. We have Australian companies. We have Canadian companies, several Canadian companies. Bee lifters. We have Sub. We have the cheapest price on plastic foundation in the country coming your way. We have all kinds of exciting stuff. So just hang on. We will get that to you very soon. One thing I want to mention while we're on the Hive Life kick is we have switched to online payments now. So you can go to hivelifeconference.com and you just like PayPal and just boom. Always, always, always be on the lookout. After you pay and get your ticket, you will get an email that will have a barcode. You will need that to get into the conference. We can look it up there, but it'll be a huge pain in the rear end, and you'll have to go into a slower aisle. If you have it on a piece of paper or pulled up on your phone, we can scan it. 10, 15 seconds, boom, you're in, having a good time. Stack the vendors vertically like a hive and all will be good. All right, that sounds like a plan. I'm sure they'll enjoy that. All right, Pappy's Bees. I read you loud and clear. Definitely. And what I'm looking for, primarily for the conference, is someone to set up a booth and show what they've done and do labels at the conference. I would love to see an interactive label booth where beekeepers can come and go, wow, this is a company that is, you know, does a good job, and the price is competitive, and we can get our labels from them, and or at least designed by them to be somewhere else. All right. Thanks, Vanderpool Farms LLC, for letting everybody know to smash that like button. And everybody who hasn't, if you'd like to, please subscribe. At 50,000 subscribers, we will have a massive giveaway coming up soon. All right, getting to some more questions. Oh, man, this thing just jumped on me. Varroa red alert in Oregon. Waiting until blackberry honey is off and extracted may be way too late. Don't miss the queue. We are in the queue big time. So that's in Oregon. Time to kill those mites. And here in Tennessee, now is the time to be treating mites too. Um, don't wait till the end of August. Get it done. Keep them low. And then it's best to always double check and be sure that you actually have them low. Hmm. Okay, going through some questions here. Okay, some of these are just comments. I'm really behind on this. For now, what vaporizer is best and affordable? Just two hives right now. Access through Christ asked. So obviously, this model right here, it's like $500. I consider this a nice professional model for my operation. It's going to save me so much time. By the time it take me to get the generator and everything hooked up, I'm gonna and run the cords and flip that around and then roll them up. I could treat easily 20 hives with this unit, and it's just very convenient, very well built, all that kind of jazz, and I don't have to measure anything out. So I really like that. Now, as far as for your question, mm, you can get wands that are very inexpensive. You insert them into the hive, but they're extremely slow, extremely slow. Rob has got some vaporizers that are half the price of this one they're made really well. And actually, there's some, like I said, there's wands, there's all kinds of things out there. Just really depends on what you're willing to invest in because the wands can take so long, like 4, 5, 6 minutes per hive. But if you have two hives, it's not that big of a deal. If you have 20 hives, that starts adding up really quickly. I can treat a hive with 2 grams in 18 seconds with this one. So that's why it's important to me running through yards of 40 to 50 counties. So there's a lot of different models out there. I'd suggest you looking at multiple companies and then also talking to some bee buddies and kind of seeing what works for your price point. No more extension cords. Absolutely. And I just like to see a good product being made, even if it doesn't work for me personally. I just love seeing innovation and good products. I like to see that in beekeeping. Okay, scrolling down. Holy crap, that is a long ways down. Steve Chubb, man, thank you yet again for supporting what we do here. Really appreciate you. If you have any questions, hit me with them, and we will get to those as soon as we see them. All right. Hey, Cayman, I'm a first year beekeeper, and my bees swarmed in early mid June, right before our dearth. So I left the honey super on. I was wondering what would be the best mite treatment for them. Well, Gary, that's a hard question to ask, but I will give you my personal opinion. I like Apiguard, the thiamol product. You have to be a little bit careful with the temperature. It has instructions on it. Formic acid, especially in July and August, unless you're getting temperatures that are below 85 degrees Fahrenheit, I would be really, really careful with using any formic products. Even though it's natural, it'll naturally burn your bees up a little bit too. So I prefer Apiguard more for that. Some beekeepers are using Apivar, but I'm not seeing good kill rates with it at all. And it's synthetic, and I wouldn't want to use it with a honey super on. So if you've got a honey super on that you're leaving to feed your bees, but hope to extract out of that next year, I really wouldn't like to use something like a synthetic like Apivar. Formic acid and thymol, um, I would be okay with that as far as using it this year and then letting be able to clear out all year long and then using it for a honey super next year. The Apiguard is not supposed to be used with honey supers on, primarily because it's going to make the honey taste like Listerine. I don't think there's really major concerns about health issues with it. It's just mainly that it's going to mess the honey up. I don't want Listerine flavored honey, and they probably just haven't looked to get approval for it, and I don't see why they would. However, I would use Apiguard, and if you have oxalic acid access as well, maybe mix those throughout the year, like Apiguard now, clean up with oxalic acid later. It's always good to have multiple ways to kill the mites and control them. Cayman, does feeding syrup during Apiguard treatments have negative effects? So I have done it. I know Bob feeds during some of his Apiguard treatments. It's kind of an interesting situation being a YouTuber because what we as beekeepers find work and what we are legally supposed to do or what's recommended on these products can sometimes be very different things. There's a lot of stuff like that that I either am careful how I say it or I just don't talk about it at all because there's the biggest problem is a lot of people that make the rules have no clue what it's like to be a beekeeper themselves. And if they did, they would probably think a little differently about the rules they made. I I think that what they're concerned with is when you treat the hive might be a little bit more vulnerable to getting robbed out. So just on the off chance that happens, they don't want that to happen to you. So they just say don't feed. However, I fed gallons at a time with Apiguard in the hive, and it's worked fine for me. I think a lot of it depends on the strength of the colony too. Are we treating a double deep here? Or are we treating a 7 frame colony that's in a double deep box? A lot of variables there, but there's a lot of things that I do that may or may not align with how things should be. Like for example, the oxalic acid. People ask me this all the time, and I don't know sometimes what to say. I don't use apabioxol. I'm not spending almost $50 for a bag, 40 something dollars or whatever it is for a bag like this, when I can get a bag like this of stuff that's more concentrated oxalic acid that's used in soap making and other products that humans use for like I don't know. I can't remember how much that was, like $8, $9, something like that. So, and it actually it's more pure in my opinion, but it hasn't been approved. So, some people really have to go by the laws of the land on everything. And I find myself too much of an American to obey every law. Ooh, did I say that? Man, I did. Richard Marker came and I hope my friend and I made the right decision. We pulled our supers and treated the hives with 25 milliliters of Apiguard as we pulled the supers to keep Varroa low. Is this okay to do now? Virginia. It sounds like it's okay to do. That's not a super strong treatment of it, but with the temperatures the way that they are, that's probably pretty good. Probably come back and then apply it again and and keep going with it. However, keeping those mites low is so critical. Apiguard has been a good product for me. It's not perfect and it has limitations like in extremely hot weather, and I don't really like it as much on the little colonies. However, I do like it. It's one of my main products that I do use. And I think that's a good decision. Get the supers pulled and just get those treatments on, and then go back later after you've done all your rounds of Apiguard, Richard, and come back and do some alcohol washes randomly throughout the yard. Even better if you could do all of them and then see where you're at. And it's not maybe that it didn't kill them well. It's just maybe you had a couple hives that were really high. But yeah, just that'll make a big difference in your bee yard, making sure that you control those things good and keeping them low throughout the season. That's what all the professional guys that I know. One of my buddies runs 10,000 colonies. It's all about keeping them low throughout the season. It's not about this one major treatment and dropping them and we're done. He's down in the southernmost states, and he treats 3 times a year. It's all about keeping them low, keeping them low. Okay, getting back to some more questions. Hmm. Sherry Molina says, too hot for Apiguard. Would oxalic acid spray slash drizzle be better at 100-degree temperature? So oxalic acid would be better. It's not really temperature sensitive that I can tell as far as the dribble or spray method. The biggest issue with that is dosage. You don't want to overdose. You want to apply the correct amount, and it's also a little bit more labor intensive for the spray, but it does work pretty well. It works quite good on colonies that have been made into splits and have a little bit of a hiccup or a complete brood break, and then it just thrashes the mites with that oxalic acid spray or dribble. It doesn't really seem, in my opinion, to be temperature sensitive. However, when I apply the dribble, I personally like to feed 1 to 1 when I do it, because if I'm feeding 1 to 1 that doesn't have any oxalic acid and I'm using the sugar syrup dribble, then sometimes they'll want to ingest the dribble that's it's basically oxalic acid in a sugar syrup solution. The sugar syrup is in there to make it stick to the bees and spread around and touch and kill mites. But sometimes if they're in a complete dearth, they will actually try to eat some of it, and that's not good for the bees. So having some of the real stuff in there that's clean, I think really helps the colony out. That's just my personal opinion on when I've dribbled in the past. And let me tell you, when I made splits up and I dribbled during that little bit of a break, it just thrashed the mites. Did a really good job. Just don't get heavy handed with it. Know how much you're supposed to apply and do it correctly. Okay. Whew. Cayman, I have a lot of uncapped honey. Do I just leave it for how long? Ohio housewife. So great question. Maybe, because there's been honey that I have pulled off that was completely uncapped, and I have a refractometer, and I tested it out. It was 16 point something percent water. Moisture content was very low in it. So, and sometimes you'll get capped honey that's a tad bit too high on the moisture content. So there are variables there. What can happen sometimes is the bees just don't get to the point of capping it towards the end of the flow. They dry it all the way down, and it's fine. But if there's no flow left, they're not going to just cap it because they there's not enough incoming nectar to create extra wax to cap it. So really, that's where a refractometer, you can get a very inexpensive one off of Amazon. Just make sure it's a honey refractometer, and preferably one that has one of the little kits that come with it that you can kind of recalibrate it on your own. It's like 20 odd dollars, but it very well could be that that super or those multiple supers, if that's the case, could be ready to extract, and you just don't know for sure. Bearded Bee Works is in the house. Hey, Ruger, Hager. I keep getting you mixed up with the guy. I know a Justin Ruger, and then there's a Josh Hager. What is it with guys your age all having J names? They're all over the place. Hey, Cayman, what was the name of the smoker that you promoted last year? So I'm a Dadant smoker guy. I like the Dadant smokers. I still think they're the best one. I've tried a couple out, some of the Chinese models, but the American Dadant smoker is still the best, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Pay another 12, $15. I've got a 20-year-old Dadant smoker. I still use it, so get what you pay for. One of the Chinese models I tried out last year got me 2 months. That's it. Okay, where did that go? Mickey's Bees. Hey, Mickey, thank you very much for donating. And so his question is, will you have a vendor at Hive Life that sells the wax needed to wax dip boxes? I haven't even really looked into that at all, and I don't know if that's something that we'll actually do. The trick is, especially something like that that's really heavy, they've got to be able to make a good bit of money off of it. I don't know how much a company could make reselling that, but I'm going to write it down and we'll look into it. And I do know we will have wax dip boxes at the conference for $22 a deep or under. And so be on the lookout for that. One of the companies that's coming is going to have very inexpensive wax dip boxes. I mean, heck, you can't go to Man Lake and buy an unassembled deep junk box for 22 bucks. So these boxes are to this. I showed him how I did it with mine, and he actually does it better than I do. And so these things should, as long as you take care of the boxes correctly, last 15, 20, 25 years. It's hard to know. My boxes have gotten me 4 seasons. I've got buddies that have waxed it boxes 10 years old. Bob Benny has a buddy who's one of our speakers for the conference, Chris Warner. who has wax dip boxes that are pushing 30 years old on one dip. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Now, could you imagine buying boxes 20 years ago and still using them, and how much you would have paid for those boxes 20 years ago compared to what they are now? So, yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty good opportunity at the conference. But as far as the wax itself, Mickey, I don't know yet about that, but I've written that down. Now, again, the conference payments will be PayPal from here on out. And that will make it a little bit simpler. So anyone who's been looking into coming, oh, by the way, we are with staff, speakers, attendees, and vendors that are tentatively coming. Almost to 950 people coming to the conference. 950. That's going to be insane. So I imagine that we're going to cut it off at 1,500. And like I said already, we're probably going to cut the vendors off too, because we're just not going to have enough room for everybody. That's all there is to it. We will have, I'd say, 90 vendors at our conference. At this point, I keep saying it's going to be 70, it's going to be 80. It's going to be at least 90 vendors at our conference, as far as I can tell. Um, I've just got such a massive list, and it's exciting because there's only about one or two companies out there, and I'm talking companies outside the United States, that I have not gotten to agree to come to our conference. And I kind of get it. Some of them are halfway across the world. But thank you again, Mickey's Bees. And if you have a question, hit me with it. So John Smith he said, is there a schedule somewhere of when these are? I greatly appreciate you making the time to explain to us and help us as you do, but I hate always being late. Are you talking about like a treatment regimen or something like that, John? All right. So Dan says, hi, I purchased a tub of Apiguard almost a year ago. Now, near the end of the bucket, the product is getting chunky. Your comments, please. So, first thing with Apiguard, it is thymol crystals impregnated into a gel. So, one thing that's best to do with this product is first use it before the expiration date. The other thing is always keep a product like this stored in room temperature and mix it periodically. If you're not going to use it for another 6 months to a year, go ahead and stir it up really good and then close it on up. And you'll still get some separation, but most of it happens from temperature where it's stored, or it's just been stored for a very long time. Mixing it periodically can help, though. And if it's starting to get past its prime, or maybe the company that you purchased it from didn't store it right, that those things can happen. Hi, Cayman. Can you soak your boxes and frames with oxalic acid or any other treatment? Yeah, you can totally do that. It's totally legal to coat the inside of your boxes with oxalic acid and help clean your bee equipment. So that's basically what I do with most of my oxalic acid treatments is just I'm trying to clean the wood as a wood bleach. Yeah, yeah, that's what we're doing. And if mites die accidentally, well, that's collateral damage. Tar Heel Beekeeper, are there going to be any wax dip bottom boards at the conference? So, from what I've been told, I don't know. This isn't my company, and it's all secondhand information. But I was told there's going to be deeps, there's going to be mediums, possibly some 8 frames of mediums and deeps as well. There's going to be lids, and there's going to be bottom boards. And I think there might be migratory lids and regular telescoping covers and inner covers, but I don't know exactly on that. I will have all that information for you guys soon. I imagine we'll have all that vendor information going up by September, and that's when things will get really hot and heavy. A lot of the companies are kind of really reluctant to get going as far as doing vendor deals too, because they don't really want to give a price now and then the lumber or steel industry go really high on their end, and then they're out of a lot of money. So, anyways, good evening, came and saw your syrup video. I thought Man Lake shut down, and if this place is still going, can you post an address? No, they're not shut down yet that I know of. This is the Man Lake facility called, out of Clarkson, Kentucky. If you just type it up, Man Lake, Clarkson, Kentucky, also known as the old Walter T. Kelly facility. Yes, that's where I got this syrup from. All right. Don Summers says, plus wax dip boxes look good. And I've got to say, thanks, Don, for being one of our moderators and helping control some of the turds that decide to come on to this live chat and be weirdos. I'm the only weirdo allowed in this chat. Okay. But we appreciate you, Don, very much. And I saw a couple pictures of Natalie pulling some honey that you posted on your Facebook group the other day. And of course, the videos too. She's pretty awesome. You don't tell her that I said that, because at 14, she's gonna get an ego thing going. That also is only I'm the only one allowed to have the ego problem, I guess. No, Natalie's awesome, and I hope that we can find more kids like her out there to come to the Hive Life conference this year and hang out with her, and maybe she can teach them a thing or two. And of course, Bob's going to be helping me teach actually a class for the youth program. So all those kids that are coming, we're going to have one specific class for those kids off to the side. Everyone's welcome to listen to it. It's basically going to be about managing bees as a small hobby or small professional business, and the hurdles that Bob and myself went through, and the similarities between the two of us in that regard, and some of the not so similar things. And I think maybe that the young kids will learn a thing or two from that. We understand that not all of them want to be Bob Benny's. However, learning from guys like Bob never hurt anybody. Do you think Apame hives are better than wood hives? If they were the same price, I would say yes. Joshua Tree Preserve. I like the insulation. It does de-stress the hives during summer months, and it does help bees during those critical times in the spring when you get those cold snaps. Helps them regulate the temperature. So it's just like a house. It takes less energy to cool or heat up a house that's well insulated. Same thing with the hive. Bees are using their bodies and their resources to heat and cool the colony. So the easier we make that on the bees, the more resources and the longer they're going to last. And that really adds up. It's a percentage game. So if they were the same price, then yes, insulated hives I think are better. But there's the cost factor as well. So I know that Apame is going to be at our conference again this year. Anel from Greece that does insulated hives is going to be at our conference this year. And we're also going to have an Australian company that does polystyrene hives, but it's a really unique type of polystyrene. I've never seen some of the reinforcement they do with theirs. It's going to be awesome. Plus, they say everything really interesting down under. So I'm looking forward to that. They called me on the phone, and they said, "Good day, mate," or something like that. I'm pretty sure it was "Good day, mate." And I was like, "Yes." My dreams of watching Steve Irwin are coming true. I never got to meet Steve Irwin, but at least I'm going to get to listen to a couple Aussies say "Good day, mate." Okay, question. Cayman, can you add essential oils to your water and patties when feeding your bees? You can. Should you? I don't know. So, some essential oils are bad for bees. Some essential oils cause bees to not want to brood rear. Some essential oils will literally burn the skin off of your arm. And I have experienced this before. Concentrated tea tree oil. Yes, sir. I had a spot on my arm. I was trying to clear something up, and it cleared it up and took the skin with it. I mean, it nuked it. I've still got a small scar from it, and that was, oh man, 5 years ago, maybe longer than that. So essential oils, you got to be careful. They're designed to keep pests from eating, and bugs primarily from eating the plants. So I think we have to be really careful with this stuff. It's kind of like medication. It's a lot of it's about dosage, and not all essential oils are created equal. Thymol is really good as a mite treatment, and there are some beekeepers that actually do use it in sugar syrup, but it needs to be the right dosage. It's called thymolated syrup, and you can put a small amount of thymol in your syrup, and it will keep it from fermenting as quickly, and it also will nuke a ton of pathogens that may be in your bee's guts. Balance, balance, balance. I don't really, as far as like, do I have any secret recipes for you guys to use it yourself? Not really. Personally, I like to try stuff that are a little bit more, I'm a little more confident in. So that's just, well, here's a product right here I'm trying now. I'm not confident in this one yet, but I'm trying it. Oh, man. So this is the Canadian product that Ian Stepler calls rocket fuel. So I say it's Canadian rocket fuel, and it's full of all kinds of acids and got all the phytohormone profiles and stuff, that it's designed to mimic floral nectar. And so we know that nectar is really good about eliminating a lot of pathogens in bees guts. Part of the reasons why our bees that kind of like coming out of winter all of a sudden take off like a rocket in spring is because of the first incoming nectars that get in there and flush the garbage and the buildup of all that junk in their gut. So, me personally, I'm hopeful that this will work and mimic that to a degree. Still, the jury's still out as far as my opinion goes. Ian says he likes it. So, but he's a Canadian. Sometimes I have to question their judgment, because who would choose to live in an area that cold? I mean, come on. Finally off work so I can focus on bees. Congratulations, nuts and bolts beekeeping. Yes, that is a good feeling. Caveman, how many queens have you raised this year? Maybe 200, Shane Williams. Not as many as I've done in the past. Well, that doesn't really count nukes, though. 300-ish, but I'm not selling individual queens anymore. I just don't have time for it. I used to, before the YouTube channel and the conference, I used to sell queens every year, and it definitely was the least profitable thing that we did for our time. And so now that we have other things like the conference and the YouTube channel is growing and other things like that going on, that was the first one to get kicked to the curb. That is true. The cold does kill all the poisonous critters. Cayman, have you ever tried CO2 with doing alcohol washes or mite checks instead of alcohol, mite check instead of alcohol? So I have not. I really want to. The initial models that Swinty sent down here, there were some issues, but there's a newer updated type that I've heard about that might be released before too long. And I'm interested to see how effective and efficient that is. We need it to be quick. We also need it to work good. So I'm definitely waiting for more updates on that. But I would be very excited to see that work good. But that's really, Donnie, all I know at this point. All right. The Beehive Homestead said, I just sent you an email about the hive life. Just a heads up. Well, I'll get around to that and look at that here in a little bit. And just so you know, please, 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 everybody, don't take it personally if I don't get to your emails. A lot of people send me between messages on Facebook, YouTube questions, Hive Life conference questions, unless it is absolutely critical and or I just have time. I can't get to a lot of them anymore. It's more than I can handle, and it's not personal. I find it very rare that I actually get an email or a question that is not a good one or one that I would like to have the time to answer. It's just literally a we don't have the time to do that anymore. I've got to get some more help or something, but that doesn't mean stop sending me them. But if I don't get to you, it's not anything personal. But conference related stuff, especially if it's pretty important, that is something that we have highly prioritized, and we have to. I mean, we're promising to offer the best conference experience ever. So, when you promise something like that, you kind of got to deliver. And yeah, we've got a lot to deliver on this year with probably having between vendors, staff, and everybody. I would say there's no doubt at this point that we're going to have 17 to 1800 total people at the Hive Life conference this year. So, talk about energy. I came in, I started this year in beekeeping and caught a small swarm from my first hive 2 weeks after I caught it. They built a bunch of queen cells and then my queen disappeared. Jimmy Warner. All right. So, Jimmy, I hate that happen. That happens sometimes when you catch a swarm. Not all swarms are created equal. So, what happens sometimes when a colony swarms? It's the first swarms are almost always with a mated queen. It's called a primary swarm, and she'll head off with about 60 to 80% of the flying population, or the adult bee population, and they'll head off, and a guy like you may catch them or whatever. But if that queen is old and kind of almost on her way out, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll draw some comb, she'll lay some eggs and lay just enough brood to kind of get them a little kickstart, and they will requeen her. It's really bad timing, but bees don't think rationally like, hey, maybe we should let this girl raise a little bit more brood or let her keep laying while we raise a super seeder cell. It's all about stimuli. And sometimes they're like, this queen isn't that great. And now she hasn't laid good for a while. And we're just going to deal with it now. And that works fine as long as the new virgin flies off, comes back, and is mated. But sometimes they don't. I've had that happen in swarms that I've caught multiple times where they just requeen that old queen and the new one does not come back, and then you're left with a queenless hive. If you have a hive with a queen, you can combine them back, but outside of that, there's not much you can do. You can buy a queen when they're that far gone, but almost always they will kill the queen. Not always, but it's very difficult if the bees are very, very old to get them to take it. Be original, Tennessee Tim. Do you sell ripe cells out of your incubator, Cayman? I have not this year, and I have thought about maybe doing that next year, just having like 2 or 3 pickup weeks where on the weekend people can pick up queen cells, and doing a few hundred at a time per week and looking into that. But honestly, I don't know if that'll happen. I wish that more bee clubs would do this, to get a couple guys together and they can raise queen cells and just pay the guy $7 $8 a queen cell, and the guy could raise 500 cells for the club. I mean, it's so worth it, because if you, let's say you take a double deep colony and you leave the queen in that hive, but you make 2 splits off of it and drop a queen cell in each one of those, and you do that over 10 hives, that's 20 mating nukes plus your original 10. And if out of those 20, you only get half of them to come back, you end up with 10 more hives. The ones that didn't come back, you combine to the ones that did. So now you've doubled your operation, fresh queens. And if they're $8 a cell, you're out of 16 bucks per queen. And they're locally mated. And what's better is they were never put in a queen cage. They've never had a break. And there's a big difference between queens that are banked and that have gone through being caged. When they go on a mating flight, mate well, come back and lay immediately and aren't disturbed and are allowed to just lay. That's just the perfect condition. It's that's why it's so hard for commercially raised queens to compete with locally raised queens. It's everyone talks about local genetics, and there is something to that, but it's more about the quality and the lack of stress in raising local queens more than genetics, in my opinion. It's both, but give me a well-mated queen from a halfway decent genetics, and I'll do well with it. That is a fine shirt I have on, Don. Roll Tide, baby. Hey, I want to say a big thanks to Dawn Parker and her husband for sending me some orange blossom honey again this year. So that's a really nice. Comes of course right on out of Florida, and I do love orange blossom honey. Of course, I love all kinds of honey, but the orange blossom is really good. And they've this is the second year they sent this up to me, and it's really nice. They just run a few hives, and for them to give me a little bit of their crop is super generous. And of course, my kids just think that it is awesome too. And cute little jars as well. I don't know how much they charge for these, but I bet they get a pretty good bit for that. Cayman, will an adequately dipped box swell? I'm trying to get better fitting lids than what I'm cutting now. So, hey, Todd, if a box is dipped correctly and put together, I've only ever dipped assembled equipment. But no, I mean, after it's dipped, there should not be any swelling afterwards. That's one of the beauties of wax dip boxes. The problem there's gotten to be a little bit of a bad name with wax dip boxes to a degree because there are some companies that are on Amazon, like the Castle Beehives and the oh crap, the Hoover hives or whatever they are. They're wax dip, but it's only coated on the outside. So as that melts off because it's not the right type of wax and it's not cooked into the boxes, those boxes will swell quite a bit. But my boxes that I dipped 4 years ago, there's not even a sign of anything. The only thing that has changed is the wood has darkened a little bit as the sun has done its thing. But as far as if when it rains, there's no swelling, no swelling even a little bit. That's awesome. Cayman, I got in trouble for donating to your YouTube channel when my wife opened the credit card statement. Ooh, sorry about that, Shane. Hey, but you can say that you're helping save the bees, man. That's what everyone else likes to say. So just like, but babe, I was helping save the bees, man. No, no, I guess be woman. That doesn't sound as good. Man just rolls off the tongue real easy. Man, this is getting stupid. Shane, we really appreciate you though. We're gonna be able to put a kid to the Hive Life conference, and I don't know if you've noticed, but for those of you who have gone to the Hive Life conference page, those who have donated to the kid program, and we've got that mostly updated now to where people and companies who have donated, your names are mentioned on our website. And we just want to say thank you in every way that we possibly can. And it's amazing how many individuals have really added to this program. I will say it's been a lot of fun for me. I'm getting to watch the YouTube videos of the young guys and gals who are submitting in videos, and we've already got several young kids that are really, they seem to be really awesome beekeepers. And now I'm getting to meet them, and I'm looking forward to seeing them at the Hive Life conference. So, um, our goal, this originated from a feeling that I got 18 years ago, 17 years ago. So I headed up to Clarkson, Kentucky. Back then, still in Clarkson, Kentucky, the old Walter T. Kelly facility, you could see them make wax foundation there. They were making all their bee suits and veils there on site. They were doing all of their wooden equipment on site, frames, boxes, lids, bottom boards, everything was done there. They had their extractors and their uncapping tanks, their metal shop. It was all done there. They gave me a tour, and I was a teenager, and I've only been in bees for like 3 seasons. And I went up there and got my bee suit, my first good bee suit, and there's all kinds of gear. I literally loaded my mom's minivan down with stuff. And that feeling of getting to go through there and being like, wow, one of these days I'm going to need a big extractor like that. One of these days, it gave me goals and it gave me things to look forward to, and it was exciting. That is exactly what I'm trying to do, and the same feeling I'm going for with this conference. When these kids walk into the room, I want them to literally not have a brain cell left. I want them to be so blown away, mind blown. And then even more, I want them to be able to have a chance to network with guys like Bob and Ian, or whoever they want to meet with, even Randy McCaffrey. I mean, if they're that desperate for attention, and and get to meet other kids their age too, and so they realize that they're not just a weirdo, or at least not the only weirdo out there, and so that they can encourage one another and continue on, and hopefully be the next generation of maybe YouTubers, people that are doing lectures at classes, inventing new products for beekeepers like you and me. Young people are the future, so that's what we're going for. So Shane, you tell your wife all that right there. This is recorded. Just play it for her and tell her thank you from the bottom of our hearts. The kids appreciate her. Good luck. Yeah, Access Through Christ says, I'm so addicted to the smells of the hive. And that's me too. I love the smell of like everything except dead bees. Dead bees is a terrible smell. So, what is the recipe for the wax dip? So, this is really basic. We want high quality paraffin and microcrystalline, 50-50 ratio. And you dip it like that. You want to make sure that the melting point is somewhere around 170 plus. So, on those hot southern days, it doesn't come on out of the boxes. But yes, you want the microcrystalline in there to make sure that it stays in the box. Paraffin and beeswax are not really multi-chained, and so they don't do a really good job staying in the wood. That's why you have the microcrystalline in there. Yeah, yeah, Bradley. And that's what I've heard from the Hoover hives too. You do save a little bit of money using the Hoover hives initially, and that's why a lot of people buy them. But a good wax dip box should get you decades. And I've heard people that are saying that they're getting swelling out of their Hoover hives in less than a year. So that's a little frustrating. But if you come to the Hive Life conference and bring a vehicle, you'll be able to get a better price on wax dipped equipment. So you don't have to worry about it. Just of course you got to make it. Yeah, Andrew, I'm telling you, Kelly's was the place to be. I loved it. I wish Walter T. Kelly was still alive. He would totally light a fire underneath Data and Man Lake right now and take him to the woodshed, and it would be fun to watch. Walter T. Kelly was really all the employees that I've talked that have worked for him. I mean, some of these people were working at Kelly's 30 something years ago. He had very high standards, but the people that met those standards, he really took care of them, helped them with hospital bills, gave people bonuses, really treated his employees very well. I've never heard anything bad from any of his employees. But when it came to like fighting for beekeepers and being very opinionated, Walter T. Kelly was extremely opinionated, and I liked that. Hey, Cayman, I bought some buck fast queens from Canada, Ferguson Apiary. I was told they cannot ship queens to the States anymore. Do you or anyone else know why? I think there's concerns with disease and pest you know, we could transit viruses, all kinds of things. I think being as Canada's basically attached to the hip to the United States and vice versa, I don't know how well that it'll slow things down, but I don't know how it would stop anything. I don't know 100% one of the reasons, all the reasons why. I do know that used to Canada, they'd bring beekeepers down to pollinate in the United States, some of the orchards we had down here. So I think it's more about a concern, but there could be more to it. Don't really know 100% for sure. Of all the countries, I figure we would do most things with. I would figure it would be Canada first and foremost, but I don't know. Sometimes these rules are good and sometimes they're not. I haven't really looked into that one because it doesn't really affect me that much. I would be interested to hear more though. Let's see here. Hey, came bad news. Just ordered my ticket to Hive Life, and I'm coming for a picture with my LSU Tiger shirt and so not hiding. Go ahead. Go ahead. You guys do whatever you want to. You had your little run there. Roll Tide. And honestly, I would rather have people come to the conference and wear a college football shirt than to keep it hid because I love the banter. And last year we had so many Ohio State University fans. Oh, the Ohio State University, man, those jerks. They showed up wearing all of their OSU gear, and you know, and they wonder why they don't have any friends. So Gus Mitchell, one of the moderators, Shabu and him have been down there. Gus has got the Russian queens, and they're doing AI down there on some of the breeder queens that Gus Mitchell has for the Russian beekeeping program. If anyone's interested in Russian bee genetics, he's not selling any right now that I know of. He does from time to time, but if you're wanting to learn more about Russian bees, Gus Mitchell knows as much as anybody that I know. It has a nice operation. Gus, when are you going to invite me down there to go into those nice Mexican restaurants in Memphis or barbecue and do some bee stuff together? All right, getting back up to some questions. I came and got into beekeeping this year. You're my favorite beekeeping YouTuber. Hey, thanks. I've seen a lot of beekeepers on this platform and learn lots of methods. I use your methods a lot here in New Jersey. Well, thanks so much, Trex and Preps. Really do appreciate that. We try to have good content and add to the community and not just serve our own needs, but also contribute something meaningful. We definitely aren't the only source of good information. I definitely really appreciate some of the other guys that I've collaborated with in the past, like Bob Benny, um, obviously Richard Noel, Ian Stepler. A lot of these guys, fundamental. We all have kind of different takes on the same way of keeping bees, really focused on fundamentals. Bruce Jean, Gus Mitchell, lots of guys. I'm so excited. 4 years ago, it didn't look like this at all. We didn't have Bob Benny. I wasn't doing YouTube videos. Bruce was doing some, Gus wasn't on, Richard was doing some, but it's very different. Now it seems like we just have quite a large variety of beekeeping information. We're all getting to learn at an accelerated rate compared to what we used to. And I'm definitely learning a lot more. It's really an exciting time. Lots of changes happening right now in the bee world behind the scenes. And you're going to get to see at the conference if you come. Check this out. So I'll be doing a video on this bee suit here in the future. I'm not going to tell you the company because I'm not supposed to yet, but I am really tickled with the quality of this suit. It was designed by a commercial beekeeper for crews of commercial workers, and the durability on this sucker is amazing. I mean, it probably lasts a hobby beekeeper 20 years if they took care of it. I think it would, maybe maybe more. So, and they're constant, and they're looking at tweaking it and all kinds of stuff, and it seems to be just really good. The zippers on it are great. It's an awesome suit. I'll be doing a review on that in the future, and they are just an excellent quality suit. I like things that are made to last and good value for the price. So be on the lookout for that. That's the kind of videos though we want to bring on for you guys, so you can have a little bit more of an idea of who does what. This company right here, most people don't even know that they sell suits. Yeah, super thick, strong netting, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, everything's going good, Laurel. Nuts and bolts beekeeping. When doing comb honey, do you freeze it before boxing or after boxing? Now, I've never done comb honey, but my understanding is that you freeze it before. But I could be wrong. Gus, are you still on here? Any advice on if there are grants or people to help new beekeepers that want to go to sideline or commercial levels? I am in Michigan. I don't know what your state does. Some states do. Tennessee does. There's also some SARE grants out there and different things that are more like USDA. So I haven't really looked into that, but you definitely could look into a SARE grant or something like that. I really don't know. All right, freeze before. Oh, Gus Mitchell, do you freeze the combs before you cut them and put them into containers? I think you do, right? Everyone's saying yes. So this many people just surely can't be wrong. Oh, wait. Um, sorry, I'm not picking on you guys. I'm just picking on all the politicians that we have in this country. When they get together, they can't seem to get it right. All right, getting to some more questions. Hey, Sarah's Happy Hives. Thanks for coming on, and we will see you later. Thank you. Yeah, Doug Summers. Yeah, Ohio State gear. I guess they have to have fans too. All right. So just going through all the questions and things like that. So I want to reiterate a few things from the beginning of this live chat. So, first of all, tomorrow's video is going to be a pretty in depth dive on what we're doing in mid July here. Some of the stuff that we're doing in our video is stuff that we have been told in Tennessee not to do. However, we do it anyways. I am a big believer in doing things to the best of what I feel is going to take care of my bees. And so in tomorrow's video, we're going to get into two hives. We go through both colonies, quick inspections. You kind of see what we're looking for, variables. Why do we have three deep boxes on the hive? So tomorrow's video should be pretty informative. Again, if you know of a kid between 12 and 21, make sure to tell them to go to the Hive Life conference and have them fill out. If they want to go, they can get possibly a full ride to our Hive Life conference, their ticket, their meal, their guardian ticket and meal, and their hotel covered up to $250. So that is a great opportunity for any young man or young woman who is already a beekeeper and is wanting to learn more and get to experience this unique conference of crazy people. And we're looking forward to meeting them for sure. The Hive Life conference has switched over to online PayPal payments and similar payments. And so it's real simple and easy to do and quick. Make sure after you fill out your form, put your name in there. We have so many people that are named, Thomas Seymour something another, and their nicknames Cy or something like that. And they'll put that in there instead. And it's all kinds of confusing, or they'll be like Bill Jones the third. And then their son will become with them or whatever. And it's just so darn confusing. Make sure it's clear because your name tags are going to be based off of that sign up form, and put your state or your country in there. If you're in the United States, just put your state. If you're in Canada, just probably put, Manitoba maybe or whatever. But it's going to be fun. We've had a lot of people enter that in, and also you'll get your code, and you'll need that to scan in. So after you complete that, you will get a code. Save that email, please. Laurel will be happy, and therefore I will be happy. All right. Gosh. So anything conference related, I think I've covered. Will the bluegrass music be at the conference this year? Absolutely. Called the bluegrass guys 2 weeks ago, and they are all game. We're going to have a different show. I mean, it's going to be bluegrass for sure, but we're gonna mix up some of the songs and things like that. ET's wife identifies as 21. I think Laurel hasn't turned 22 yet either. That is true. That's what my grandpa said. You're only as old as you act, and you don't start getting old until you start acting old. And so apparently, my grandpa died at the ripe old age of about 16 because the way he drove and acted, sometimes you thought he was a teenager. Hey, Cayman, I have four splits. I have virgin queens, and it's been at least 9 days and still not made it. Any thoughts? So 9 days is not that long. If there's a virgin queen in there, Lindsay, Homestead Farm, I want to give them 2 weeks on the low end. So let's say you drop if you have a virgin in there, it might take 2 or 3 days before she even goes on her mating flight. And then if you get a bad day or weather or two, that could delay things, and she might take 3 days over the course of multiple mating flights, 3 4 days, and it takes then a couple more days for the hardware to start working a little bit. So I mean that's already 9 days and change right there. So honestly, whenever you drop a queen cell in or you have a virgin running around, leave them for at least 2 weeks. Honestly, it might be better to go more around 17 odd days. I really don't like to get into colonies unless the queen has laid almost a week, or a week would be better. If she could lay a whole week before I open up the colony, and when I do, I don't want to be over smoking and everything. Pheromones are still somewhat low a lot of time at that point. We don't want to interrupt the colony too much and cause them to accidentally rip those queens apart. So just give them a little bit more time. Mickey's Beads, will you be doing a normal alcohol wash, or will you be using the Harbo scoring method for your Corey Stephen bees? So I will not be doing the Harbo scoring method because I just don't have time for that. Just don't have any time for it at all. I'll be doing some alcohol washes, and honestly, um, it's probably going to be next year before I even have an answer on how I feel about those queens. They're all in small splits. The queens just have started laying about a week ago. So that's great. I've had good takes come back from Corey Stevens' queen cells. The queen cells were in really good shape that I got from him, and they all seemed really well formed. And I think there's some good queen cells from Corey. So as far as the health of the queens and everything, I really feel like I got a good value from Corey on that. Now, how well they'll perform VSH wise, yet to be determined. But I'll just do alcohol washes. I kind of get tired to a degree. This is just me personally. I We need those Harbo scoring stuff. We need people doing the extreme stuff. But ultimately, sometimes I'm just like, you know what? At the end of the day, all I really need to know is, does it work? I need to be able to go in there, do an alcohol wash, drop treatments throughout a whole yard of bees, come back, do alcohol washes at appropriate time later, and see, did it or did it not work? All these control groups, all these other things, they're great. And if you're wanting to maybe dial it in really fancy, that's fantastic. But as a beekeeper, all I need to know how to do is keep my bees alive and know what something will or will not do for me. So I know it's a little bit more complicated than that, but sometimes I do feel like we overcomplicate it too. Not saying that you are, but I won't be doing the Harbo scoring method. Now, if Corey or someone wants to come and do that on these queens for me, they are more than welcome to do it. Oh no, Shane Williams. Well, I don't think Laurel's available right now, Shane. I really don't. I think she's in the process of working on dinner or something like that. I don't know. She's probably listening in on all this stuff. Laurel's like the eye in the sky. I just Awesome. Thanks, Cayman. I think MSU had extensions for beekeeping. I'm hear, hearing, so hoping Monday I may find out more. Good deal. Well, good luck with that and all those kind of things. Okay. Yep. That this American flag was actually donated by Don Beard, and he's one of our frequent commenters and followers. And Don's been to every Hive Life conference that we have, and of course, he's an Alabama fan, so he's one of our preferred customers. No, we don't do that to people, but we just don't tease him like we do the Ohio State fans. That's all. So, what do you think about the dish soap wash? So, what that is talking about instead of doing an alcohol wash, doing Dawn dish liquid. Randy Oliver and some other folks are using that, and I like it. It works really good. Just Randy Oliver's got kind of a recipe for it, and it seems to work as good as or better than the alcohol wash, and it's cheaper. And it gets you nice and clean every time you mess with it. I guess alcohol sterilizes you pretty good too, but man, get that in a cut and it feels really good. I do prefer the soap now though. I have a lot of alcohol left over though, and I will be using that probably the rest of the year until we run out. Hmm. Yeah. So access to crisis is the queen mating flight done right in front of the hive. So yeah, there's the queens usually fly at least a mile out, and there's a lot of variables there, but they go out and fly through areas that are called DCAs, and we haven't quite figured out why drones congregate in certain areas. Some people are like, well, it's we figured out that there's certain heights off the ground, but as far as why that location and not this location, they're still trying to figure all that out. But they're called DCAs, and the queens will fly through those areas. And drones, of course, have such big eyes because that's really the only thing they're made to do primarily is to find queens and make sure that bees continue to prosper. And so, yeah, she'll go through that area, and she'll take a couple uh, days of mating flights, and there could be 15 drone genetics represented. There could be as many as 40. I mean, the, the variables are all over the place, and that's why it's a little bit tricky with bee breeding. Is just due to the fact that if the queen lays 1,000 eggs a day and you have 20 different fathers, and one of those is a hot drone, then possibly one out of every 20 eggs that she lays could be a bee that's going to chase you home to the mud puddles crying in the rain, that kind of stuff. So that's why I try to put out drone colonies 3/4 of a mile, mile and a half, and produce a lot of our drones from a little bit different lines in the yard, and try to ensure that we get plenty of our drones, so there's plenty for the queens, and also that we're not getting some drones that are not quite as good. Yep. Talking about the birds and the bees, mostly just the bees, ET. Cayman, have you looked into ozone for treating nosema or even hive moss? No, I have not at all. I've actually got an ozone machine, and man, that thing will give you a headache. This one's really powerful. Never used it in a beehive though. Well, guys, we've been on here for an hour and a half. I told Laurel I keep it around an hour and a half, and I always go half an hour to an hour past what I tell my wife I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to surprise her and actually cut it off at an hour and a half. But it's been good to see you all on here, and we appreciate you. If you have any questions or comments about anything, you know how to leave them below. Watch out for tomorrow's video where we'll be doing 2 full colony inspections, and we'll be feeding 4 gallons of feed and doing multiple other things for pretty darn good reason. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.